what was the stuff that came out? What was this? I mean, because I had already described what it looked like. So I've talked in other segments about something that's called the slime wall. Okay, and you've also heard the term mucus or mucoid plaque. Now, when I bring up mucoid plaque, you'll see that there's people that love to hate this word. There's people on the internet that claim that mucoid plaque doesn't exist, and that any product that's claiming to remove it is a scam and is basically snake oil. So I don't know if mucoid plaque exists or not. I think it's reasonable. I think it's a reasonable premise that it does exist. I know this, that the slime wall is a real thing. I believe in the slime wall. And basically, the theory behind this is quite sound in my view, because it's very well known that the intestines can produce mucus. Just like your head can produce mucus, you have the mucosa of the intestines. Well, why? Why is this? This is a defensive mechanism of the body in many cases. So why would the body need to create mucus in the gut? So what would happen if you ate something that was extremely toxic, extremely poisonous, or on the chemical side, let's say it was highly acidic, after being digested, highly acidic. If you look at chemistry, if you have something that's highly acidic, that's basically in a neutral environment, to slightly basic environment, the acids will literally eat through the tissue and will literally disintegrate it. So if you had this thing going through the intestines and it was so acidic, it would literally burn a hole in the intestines and it would disintegrate and your gut would just start falling apart. It would look like Swiss cheese. The body is not going to allow that to happen. The body is so intelligent and resilient. It has its own defensive mechanism. And so if something that acidic enters in the intestine, then the mucosa of the intestine will secrete mucus, and the mucus acts as a protective buffer against the acids. They create a buffer that buffers the acids against the actual cells of the intestinal tissue. This is similar to what happens where you have cholesterol plaquing in the arteries, right, in the capillaries. You could get chemistry that is bordering on becoming toxic or overly acidic in the capillaries, in the circulatory system, and the body will naturally protect these capillaries, not allow them to become disintegrated, and instead buffer them using cholesterol and using cholesterol plaquing. That's the lipids and basically the fats that are used, the whole intelligent process of the body involving the liver and involving everything else to create this defense. Okay, well then you have high cholesterol, you have plaquing, and that can lead to heart attacks, strokes, that can lead to other things. And so then you have people and experts that are pointing the blame at the cholesterol. Hey, you have high cholesterol. The cholesterol is killing you, or it's going to kill you. But they're missing the point, because the cholesterol is not the root cause. The cholesterol is is an effect that happens because of the root cause, which is over acidity, basically. And what's the solution is, of course, to alkalize the body. You want to get rid of the overly acidic chemistry in the body, get rid of all the toxins and waste that has produced, and then keep the body alkaline. So as it pertains to the intestines, okay, you have the same issue that's going on. So let's say if you just did this one time and you just had one really, really super acidic meal. Okay, you went through the drive-through somewhere and you ate this meal and it was so acidic, and your intestines secreted all this mucus to buffer it, and then the meal went through, and then you went back to eating super alkaline after that. Well, the body would slowly just get rid of this mucus and eliminate it and slowly return to a stasis of normal. But what happens is that you have someone that's putting extremely acidic things in the intestines multiple times daily, again and again, day after day, month after month, year after year. It's like a non-stop trauma to the gut. And if you look at, I did another segment about alkaline versus acidic, and basically different foods that are acid forming. Well, it's so many of the foods. And so what you have is basically a condition where you have constant mucus that's being created in the gut because of all this acidic food, not to mention the drugs, the chemicals that are going through there, and so which are toxic and which also stimulate mucus production. And so you have slime that gets produced, and then you have more threats that come in, more over acidity. So you have more slime that gets produced, and more, and eventually, basically you have slime on top of old slime on top of old slime. And what happens to chemistry that's acidic over time is eventually it coagulates, it hardens, and it becomes, or can become in theory, like a glue. And so this is what's going on over years of time, or even decades of time, inside the gut, in theory. Add to this, now you're going to add in foods. So you have this slime wall, and then now you're going to add in foods like processed white flour. Okay, which is literally like, have you ever made papier-mâché? And you can use it, you can make white flour into basically hardened glue material. That's papier-mâché. And so, this can also create a perfect storm for a slime wall that just keeps getting entrenched and very difficult to scrape off. Obviously, there's so many problems with this. This is going to hurt the absorption, where you actually get the nutrition from the foods going through the gut. This is going to hurt respiration, the ability for oxygen to move through the cells, which is so important for cellular life. And then lastly, this is going to create a perfect nesting ground for parasites, because many of the parasites thrive and live on waste and highly toxic, highly acidic materials. And you really can't hate them for it, because that's their role in nature. It is basically custodians, and they're cleaning up the mess of nature. And so people want to do parasite cleansing and get rid of harmful organisms, but it's so important to clear out their home base first, because otherwise you're just killing the enemy, but you're leaving all their munitions and headquarters and all their resources in place where another army could just come back and set up shop. You want to blow up the whole operation. You want to get rid of their nest, and you want to get rid of the slime wall.